I'm Grace Geeta Dalila, and I have had the privilege to grow up in the land of Tamil Nadu, in a culture that is rich with pictorial images, with colors, with fragrances, with beauty and harmony in gestures and in customs, and with a very vibrant relationship with all natural things in our surroundings, from trees, flowers, plants, to animals, to you name it, and each other, obviously. I am here to tell you more in depth about Kolam Yoga as a syllabus. What is Kolam Yoga? What is Kolam? Kolam is derived from a very ancient root of the Dravidian and Sanskrit languages. The word Kolam we can divide into two. Ko as standing up and ascending and yearning and reaching upward force to the light, to the divinity, to the higher self, to everything that you have as a vision for the becoming of something bigger than yourself. And Lam is the sounding word for the anchoring, the earthing, the deepening, the laying down on the earth surface, or even embedding it into the earth. So Kolam is something that the human does in order to pull down vision and images that connect us all and lay it down onto the earth's surface, making it visible, making it approachable. It is a very ancient pictorial language. It is a language because it has, like in the alphabet, many components that grow in structures, making up from sounds to words to sentences to stories. So also in the Kolam, we can draw from a very simple dot, connecting ourselves from the dot to a line. This line can be a line that is going upward or going in any direction of space, and then hooking itself onto another dot, creating a relationship between these two dots. So what is this dot there? That dot, that germinating point, that point where everything is born from. We also are born from that dot. When the egg and the sperm merge, it creates like a jelly-like substance, and there's a small black dot. That black dot then multiplies into many, many cells. It then grows into this human form that we house, or into another tree from a seed, or into an animal, or into a fish, or into a flower. So also we have all these dots that connect us. When dots then come back to themselves in their origin and have traveled, then they create an inner space and define themselves from the outer space, creating a shape or a form. And that becomes then something that you can relate to, you can identify with. It could be a flower, it could be a lotus, it could be a square, it could be a circle, a triangle, it could be something very abstract and sacred in its geometry, but it could be also very floral and pictorial, but it could also be just an adventure of frequencies of lines that are multiplying and expanding into space, or contracting themselves and imploding and becoming anchored again to oneself. So this dot is also within us. It is in our pupil, in our eye. It is at the center of every cell. We have that energy of that dot. So also I am carrying a dot which we call then a puttu or a bindu at the center of my third eye positioning, which is then relating myself to that pineal gland, to that place of being in a different way of looking at things, where I can then perceive the things that are outside of the norm, that what we call normal, that what we call everyday mundane things. So there I am connected with my intuition, with my bigger sense of seeing. So the Kolam is training us to become more and more intuitive, more and more aware of the bigger connections that house within ourselves and are in relationship all around us. Therefore, it is a language. It is a language that is almost a language of the gods. Maybe it's a language of the universe. Maybe it's a language of this earth. It is yet to be understood more and more in depth through our practice. And how did I stumble upon the Kolam? I came upon the Kolam because I grew up in a land of Tamilian people that have been practicing this Kolam very playfully, without actually even understanding what they are doing. Just that what they do is make this beautiful pictorial image of a Kolam at the threshold of their home, or in a puja room, a sanctified space where they have a moment of consecration to some divinity, or where they meditate, or it is done at a wedding, or it is done at a birthday, or it is done in a big temple. This Kolam has been practiced by Tamil women on a daily basis, early in the morning or in the evening, at the thresholds of when it is no longer dark and it is not yet day, that twilight zone. Again, I come to that space of in-between. It is not mundane, it is not a daily thing in that it is already full on day. No, it is that space where the sun is yet to come out with its red ball and it has this white light. And there the Kolam is passed through the human being, through their actions, through their arms, through their vision board, through their heart connection, and laid down on the earth. And it's almost like saying, I remember that I am connected to you, O tree. I remember that I am connected to you, fishes. I am remember that I am connected to you, peacock. I am remembering everything because I am doing it, because I am capable of reproducing the images of what I am remembering. And what I reproduce means that I am in connection with, I am deeply connected to. So also I was, as a child, connecting to the Tamil women telling me about the Kolam through doing the Kolam, not through the words that they were telling me. They were drawing the Kolams, and intuitively I was being schooled to understanding more and more how to be connected to the Kolam and how to speak through the Kolam. So in Kolam Yoga, I want to introduce 3 major types of Kolam through a journey of several lessons. I want to introduce this because I have been myself trying to deepen and trying to better understand cognitively, materialistically, with all hands-on pedagogical and spiritual and religious. I wanted to know everything about the Kolam. So I went and deep dived into the Kolam. I started researching it. And I started researching this in 93 when I started also officially teaching the Kolam. I was lucky because I learned the Kolam not only from many, many hundreds of Tamil women, but I also learned the Kolam from my own mother. Just like a Tamil woman learns the Kolam from her own mother or her aunt or her grandmother. It is passed down through a matriarchal movement of passing on knowledge. And this passing on is like, it's passed on in a way that the Kolam is like a parcel. So you get a parcel and you start to open the parcel bit by bit. So you start to make the Kolam and you start to unfold it. And then in that unfoldment, it teaches you. So it is basically the Kolam, because you are doing it, is teaching you about what it wants to tell you. And this is very fascinating. And so the more kolams you make, the more you in depth understand how to unravel its mystery, how to unravel its code, its geometry, its numerology, its astrological connections, its pedagogical values, its spiritual significances, the more you also start to vibrate in understanding how deeply connected you are to everything in this world. How you are a mirror in that symmetry game of the kolam. As the kolam symmetry folds itself out in that unfolding of this parcel, it also tells, look, I am mirroring you. Look, you are me and I am it. And this is such a beautiful journey. And I wish this journey for everyone. And the more I've received the kolam, the more it has been given to me, the more I have explored it, the more in depth I have understood it, the more I am even obliged to pass it on. Because anything and everything that is given to you, you do not hold. You cannot hold. You cannot close the parcel and keep it tight and say, this is only my treasure. No, this is a universal treasure that belongs to everybody. And therefore, the more you are receiving, the more you are also to be giving. And this act of giving, this is so coherent in the kolam practice. You, as a kolam practitioner, learn to be in the act of giving. The act of giving back to nature. The act of giving back to another human being. The act of giving back to all the divine force that is around us, supporting us in our manifestation, in our co-creation of this beautiful adventure on earth. So this act of giving is also very simple. You just lay down with your rice powder. You have a little bit of rice powder in a bowl, and you put a pinch of that onto the earth's surface, and immediately you see ants coming and feeding, and birds come and feed, and snails, and all kinds of animals, creatures, insects. I've even had a dog once lick up the kolam powder whilst I was making the kolam. So this act of giving is also giving back to nature. It's like you are co-feeding nature with your creation. And in that there is something that is, again, this ephemeral space of being in tune, intuitively in tune, and activating back your GPS, orientating yourself to the sun. Where's the sun rising? Where's the sun setting? How is it in the day? Where is the sun now? Oh, now it's around 2:30 or 3 o'clock because the sun is at that stage. The light is like this. When is it? What season is it? All that is incorporated in the kolam practice. It is a very integral way of reconnecting yourself with being here on earth. Therefore, it is a yoga. Because the word yoga is not only to unify yourself with everything and yourself, but it is also to yoke, to harness the powers and the properties so that you can co-create them, be part of them actively, consciously. And the more you do it, you become more and more conscious. So it's very fascinating, this journey of the kolam yoga. And I've been teaching this kolam yoga since the 90s, actively to grown-ups, to children, and in many different countries. And now I've come to the stage where I want to create video classes to reach out to more people and to have a recorded class that is like a parcel that you can open and unwrap, and you can find in that all the treasures, and you can look at it again and again, and in that you have a class that can nourish you deeply. You can store it for the time when it is appropriate for you to start it, and you're not obliged to a third party, you're not obliged to travel. You can order this, you can receive it in your home, in your comfort, in your sanctuary space. You can permit yourself to enter into this language and take all your good time to befriend yourself with the kolam. There will be practice, hands-on practice, explanation of the form principles. There will be an in-depth explanation of its cultural values, how it's connected to the global values. There will be an in-depth explanation of its spiritual properties. There will be an in-depth technical explanation of how to use powder, or even just draw it on paper or paint it, or be an artist in kolam creation, or include it into your cooking or into your design of your home. So there are so many components in each of the classes that will enrich you on whatever level you are in your life. And this will then also be supported with the PDF, with some text that will give you some hands-on exercises as well. And the video and the PDF is like a parcel that is each time dealing with one specific subject of the kolam. And each subject is then also correlating to the other subjects. And each subject is connected to each other. And the journey is like, it becomes like a treasure box within a treasure box. Like those Russian dolls, you have the big doll, inside there is a bit bigger, and then a medium, and then a bit smaller, and then until it's a tiny doll. So we're going to unpeel this kolam language, and then we're going to put everything back together. And at the end of the journey, the more video sessions and classes you acquire, the better an understanding you get of the whole of yourself, of your relationship to the surroundings, activated your GPS, being aware and more conscious in your body, and then also feeling confident within yourself, because it helps you to erect your spine and feed your vision board with that what you can contribute into this world, and that what is the reason of your being here in this body. And that is really the essence of the kolam practice. And it is something that you can do with a lot of joy. And even when there are moments of deep struggle and deep unpeeling and unraveling and technical components that need to fit together like puzzle pieces, and you can't find the puzzle, with perseverance, with my support, because I'm always there to support you. This is my task. I support you in this learning journey. And with that, you can slowly and slowly put the puzzle together and find the pieces. And with your endurance, you will have little moments of victory. And these little moments of victory will also give you a lot of joy in your manifestation. So I'm going to explain to you a little bit more what it is that kolam looks like when you make a kolam. Just a simple journey of the day. Traditionally, the woman stands up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's still dark, it's still night, and she goes out and she sweeps her threshold, she sweeps her courtyard, and she cleanses it. So she sweeps, and the sweeping action is like you are entering into a mode of fire, because you're activating your body. Your breath starts to become more activated. So the fire component in your body is activated. You wake up. This will activate your breathing, and you will breathe better through both the nostrils. And it is said in yoga, and even in yoga, Deepika, it's said that the breathing through both nostrils at that time period, between 4, 5, 6, before the sun rises, is that pranic energy, where the ether, the very thin, very powerful energy, if you breathe that in through both the nostrils, you feed both the brain halves. So both brain halves get nourished. That nourishes all the synapses, all the nervous system. Everything is then nourishing into the body. Your heart expands, and you bend down to the earth, and then you take a bucket of water and you splash. So you've removed all the obstacles with sweeping, and then you cleanse it with water. And water is connecting us to life sustenance, and it's also deeply emotional. It's like a gesture of complete giving. And when it touches the surface of real earth, there is also a release of all the molecules in the earth that awaken, and you start to smell the earth. So you have that connection of smell and fire inside that is awakened, and the water, and it's incredibly powerful. Then slowly you start to feel more and more light. The whiteness of the day is announcing itself, and that's when you have your vision and you start laying down those white lines. First you lay down white dots, and those white dots are like stars that have fallen from the dark sky onto that dark ground earth. And then you lay down the lines, and it's like magic, and everything starts to connect. All the dots are being surrounded and held by those lines. It's like little treasure houses, all packed in a beautiful powerhouse grid. And then the sun comes, and your day has started. You have started your day. You have started your day with an active meditation. A meditation that has created a portal to connect you to your higher self, has created a place that is sanctified with your presence. And then everything else falls into place, becomes effortless. And that's the beauty of the Kolam practice. I am now in a Kolam, a typical Kolam posture. So I am having like a Trikonasana, my feet are widespread, and my tailbone is reaching into one direction, my crown of the head is reaching into the other direction. And my heart and my brain are on one plane surface. That means that my heart and my brain are now equal to each other. And this is very unlike to when you are sitting, because when you are sitting on your buttocks, your brain drops into your heart drops into your lower seat. And what is housed in your lower seat? Everything that is to do with survival, everything that has to do with being connected to matter. So also sexuality and food and sustenance and house and everything like that. So if your brain is constantly dropping and your heart is also constantly dropping there, then that's all that you're going to be preoccupied with in your life. That will be the main focus. But the brain is connecting us to higher realms. So your higher realms, that means your thinking mind connects to air. So your brain will start to rise, but the heart will start to drop. But when you do this, then the brain and the heart can become equal. And they can start to make this beautiful undulating movement of a wave. And then the arm becomes a full pendulum, connecting brain and heart and delivering the message to the earth. So I'm going to take a pinch of powder with my pointing finger and my thumb, a pinch of powder, and I'm going to lay down a grid of dots. So the grid of dots is made up out of 3, 4, 5, 4, 3. Yeah? So there we go. 1, 2, 3. And in between the dots I have 4 fingers. And then I do 4 dots, 2, 3, 4. Then I do 5 dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I do again 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3. So there is a symmetry at play here. When we look at this, there is 3, 4, 5, 4, 3 lines of dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of dots. 5 lines of dots. Now outside, later on, I'm going to show you all the connections, all the shapes and forms that you can make appear with this grid of dots. For now, I'm going to show you what I have chosen, or what came to me as a very powerful symbol for the Kolam yoga practice. and why this came to me. So we're going to make appear a heart, one beautiful heart. And then we're going to make appear another heart. And these hearts are like one is rising and one is descending. Going to reinforce it. I should actually go into my kolam pose. Now, you can also do this with color pencils, with crayons. You need not do it straight away with powders like I'm doing. Then the whole thing will be connected through a never-ending movement. It's so beautiful, this movement of infinity. We call it the infinity movement. Now if we look at this, we can see various things happening. We can see that basically this is a big triangle. And this is also a big triangle. So we've got two triangles. And then this is the never-ending symbol. So this is at the core of this whole movement. The rising, the male energy, the descending triangle, the female energy, and then this infinity that is holding it all together. And that when you connect them, then you get this beautiful movement of this kolam, of this infinite movement of the kolam.
Earth is the color of Avi. Earth stains everyone. Earth's cradle of true humanity. Hey, Earth's city of dawn.
In the same grid of 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, we can make this beautiful spiraling snake appear. We start off our journey with invoking the snake energy, the kundalini energy, asking permission to the snake to enter into the sacred abode of this kolam language is a prerequisite. So our first learning module will be handling the movement of the snake, because all kolams are like the snaking of the snake body. So we can see the oroburu, the snake that touches its own tail, and there are different ways that the snake moves, like in Siku Nelly. And you can see that the 3, 4, 5, 4, 3 grid of dots in Puli are all creating different ways of expression. We can have concentric circles, we can have beautiful hexagon, like the hive of a bee, stacking and packing eggs, and cubes and squares can appear. And we can even have the egg of life appear. Sacred geometry, we have 6 circles that are all circumferenced within the center, touching each other at the center. And we can create pictorial images of butterflies, all different various types of butterflies. We use only natural color pigments, so no artificial colors, no chemical colors. And we have all these different, this is the damaru of Shiva, the drum of Shiva beating, the two sounds, rhythms of life force. And these are the Trinity forces in spiraling energy. All life grows in Trinity. We've got the seed, then we've got the two leaves, and then it grows. It's like a waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we've got all these beautiful sunflower-like spiraling movements happening, all on the same grid of 3, 4, 5, 4, 3 in Puli. And we can even make very mathematical illusions appear of squares and cubuses, just all this beautiful geometry. And in that we can continue, and these are like padi-like kind of kolams. Padis are the frequencies that are repeated. And we can see that this sacred swastika, the sun symbol, is also present here. The cross, you see? The arms of the swastika. There are 3 swastikas appearing here. And then we've got the Lakshmi, adoration, the lotus bloom in adoration of Lakshmi. And then we have another Padi Kolam in holding that sacred hexagonal space. And here a cube within a cube. So from very abstract to very floral expressions are all possible on the very same grid of Puli. And they can expand into being very expressive, being abstract and floral. So you have, this is a very yantra kolam. Yantra and mandala are all part of the kolam vocabulary. This is another beautiful Padi kolam where the frequencies are going out and weaving back in. So there are many, many layers of energy that are held in this kolam. And then we've got the very typical Vishnu follower. The ones that follow Vishnu, they love these kind of lotus kolams. And there are all these different variations possible on the very same grid of Puli. All same grid of Puli. So you see here 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And when I expand it in the Vaishnavite style, where I allow the preserving energy of life force, so that there is a continuation of life force birthing again and again and again, then you can grow and you can expand this kolam into infinity. So all these kolams are based on the same grid of dots. And that's it. That's all you're going to learn in the 12 videos with me. And many, many variations on this. And in depth you're going to go and you're going to learn to expand kolams and shrink them and learn to handle the different components. And after those 12 videos, you will be able to be a real accomplished kolam practitioner. And if you then are interested to continue learning, there are 12 intermediate and then 12 advanced sessions that will then give you the capacity to become a teacher and a professional in kolam yoga. So this type of kolam is called a Kodu Puli kolam. Again, it is on a 3, 4, 5, 4, 3 grid. And as you can see, there are 2 fishes and they are connected by this beautiful elegant S. But if you would continue and you would make a circle connecting actually all the dots, you would see that it is almost like two, like the yin and the yang, like the female and the male, or always those complementary forces at play, the good and the bad, the high and the low, and you can name it. So here you have one fish swimming in one direction and the other fish swimming in the other, and there's always this flow of energy that is coming to us as information, and it reminds us also of how it is working inside our body. have energy that we receive from the earth, but we are also giving energy to the earth. So it's always an act of receiving and giving. So beautiful. These are typical siku or chiku kolam. As you see, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3 dots. There's always a very clear center. And we have siku means where you are basically weaving around the dots. Each dot is housed within a separate space. The dots are never left or abandoned out. Even the center dot gets a nice circle around it. And here we have nellies, and the line is also sometimes called kambi, which means like a wire. And we have all different variations based on the 3, 4, 5, 4, 3 grid of Puli in between aligned dots. And here we see like feet that are running around a beautiful hexagonal shape. So it's like we are circumambulating the sanctuary space of the inside. And here we have a beautiful 3 Nelly looping movement in 4s and in 3s in the center. So here we have this sacred Trinity force at play, which is then assembled through a Krishna's anklet play. So it's like, again, a dance celebrating the Trinity forces. And here we are also, again, at play with Trinity and Nelly in Kambi Siku Kolam. Also here we have the triangular shape that is very predominant. The Trinity forces 6 times around the center, hexagon, and these beautiful Nelly loop, like you're interiorizing. There's like eyes that are looking inward. And here we have a beautiful one that is like there is a Nelly that is then combined with the Trinity. And the Trinity is like a pedestal upon which something could be placed or something could be held. And it's always held again here, either hexagonal or circular. And there is the center, focus to the center. So now you have had an introduction of what all types of kolams are possible on the very same grid of dots called Puli. I want to just give you a short explanation on what I'm inviting you to participate in. So this is a beginner's course that is spread over 12 videos, out of which we will divide the 12 videos into 3 big sections. So there will be 4 videos that will deal with Padikolam, resonance bodies, swastikas, the snakes, the initiation into kolam, and the architecture that is necessary to understand in geometry, etc. And then we will have 4 videos that will deal all with the Kodu Puli or the Pu Kolam, that are pictorial images of nature, forms, shapes, animals, and even shapes and forms that you might discover. And here we can also make use of natural pigments of colors, or you can do beautiful drawings and create beautiful greeting cards for friends out of these kind of kolams. And then last but not least, the beautiful 4 big chapter of videos that deal with all the Siku, Nelly and Kambi kolams, those kolams that are weaving and knotting and looping. And those are the most magical. And the Padi and the Kodu Puli and the Pu Kolam, all those chapters that were previously coming, they help to understand really how to dive into those magical charms. And then in that we have a differentiation of 2 varying grid forms. Today I've introduced to you the Idikapuli grid form, that's the in between the dots layout of dots. And then we've got the Nerapuli grid dotted layout, which is where you can form easily squares, and these dots are beautifully aligned like the squares of these tiles. And in that we can have a whole array of beautiful kolams. There are thousands and thousands of kolams, and this course of 12 videos is to empower you to be able to understand all these different types of kolams, to understand how to make your own kolam, invent even your own kolam with making use of the basic rules. Each video will come with a PDF booklet, and sometimes this booklet is 30 or 60 pages big, and it will have a bit of an assignment which you can follow if you like to. And if you like, you make the homework and you practice and you document your practice and you send it to me to info@kolamyoga.com, and I will give you feedback. And if you have completed all these 12 videos, then I will certify you as having completed the Kolam Yoga beginner course. And obviously there will be then an intermediate and an advanced, but for that, later. The Kolam Yoga course will enable you to redefine who you are in this world today, and will give you hands-on tools to implement on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, up to your own choice, how to rearrange your home, how to rearrange your structure, your life, basically. And in that, it will awaken within yourself a connection to your higher self, a connection to the globalized way of perceiving our connectedness to each other. Like I am connected to you, you are connected to me. In Kolam Yoga, we also practice mudras, and we practice breath work, and we practice using our eyes. For instance, we take our eyes and we go over a bridge inward, drawing the two physical eyes inward, bringing the pupils like Puli, like dots of the kolam, in. And then we slide the focus inwards towards our heart. We bring our eyes to look into our heart, into our heart. You are invited to do this with me. Bring your eyes inward. Make the eyelids soft and the eyes look into your heart. Allow the eyes to settle in your heart, bathing in the heart energy. The heart is a beautiful chamber, a beautiful vessel in which anything can be nurturing, loving, embracing, and that is where you sink into, so that when you open your eyes, going down a valley, out again, your eyes will be filled with the energy that is coming from your heart. Like a lotus that opens its heart to the light, your eyes will open. And because you open your eyes from having looked in the heart out, you will perceive the world like a kolam does, like a flower does, filled with love.
Here, Earth's cradle, possible color of special sun-eyed children, a new